Hello, this is Robert Messina, and I just finished up a video that was talking about Ezekiel and Revelation on Gog and Magog. I had more information on other books, other prophecies. For example, I saw a great one in Judges, which is all I'm going to begin with that one. I saw a piece in Micah, and I saw a piece in Zecariah, chapter 14. Okay? There's confusion in Zechariah 14 about whether it's talking about the sixth trumpet or the seventh trumpet. There's confusion, and I want to bring out what part is the sixth trumpet and what part is the seventh trumpet. When I say seventh trumpet, I mean the battle of Gog and Magog in the time after the seventh trumpet, which is the vials of wrath. I assign 40 days for each vial to complete the numbering of the 7 years. All right? But there's no time. Remember, there's no time in the seventh trumpet. And there's a verse for that. Judges chapter 6, verse 1. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midjin 7 years. Okay? So they're in the hand of the enemy, and the enemy is Midjin. They're in captivity. They're in hardship. They're in labor for 7 years, which is the time of the last 7 years of. It's the same time as the last 7 years, which is appropriate, because it is going to reflect a lot of things. Okay, verse 2. And the hand of Midjin prevailed against Israel, and because of the Midjinites, the children of Israel made them dens which are in the mountain, and caves and strongholds. So you see, they're hiding, they're afraid. This is how it was. And so it was when Israel had sown that the Midjinites came up, and the Amalekites, again another enemy, and the children of the east, another enemy. And these are the same type of people that come in Gog and Magog. The children of the east is mentioned over there too. And they encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come unto Gaza, and left no subsistence for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. So they're in a hardship. Now this is the part that almost the same words that describe Gog and Magog. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude. For both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. Okay, that's what it looked like. 6. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midjinites, and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. Chapter 7, verse 1. Then Zerubbabel, who was Gideon. Zerubbabel, his name Zerubbabel means he who went against Baal, he who provoked Baal. Because he got that name after he destroyed an idol of Baal in the land of Israel. All right? And all the people with him rose up early and pitched besides the well of Harod. Now, the well of Harod puts them at the same exact spot where the of Mount Megiddo area, where Gog and Magog gathered their multitudes. If you got to see the other videos. You don't have to see the, you can read it. So that the host of the Midjinites were on the north side of them, by the hill of Morah in the valley. Again, the hill of Morah will point you to that area. And verse 2, Okay, now before I go through verse 2, the people that are with you thee are too many. I want to digress and read a little statement that Jesus made in Matthew 22, verse 11. We'll start with verse 11. And when the king came in to see the guests, he's talking about a marriage supper now. When the king came to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he said unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And the guy he was speaking to was speechless. 13, and then the king said to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. And there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And then he says, For many are called, but few are chosen. And that's the part I want you to remember for when we go back to Judges, back to Gideon's time. And also note that this is not a regular wedding guest. This is a judgment. Being cast out into outer darkness is what you don't want to do. Where you don't want to be. When you want to come to that marriage, you got to have a good garment, a nice garment, a proper garment, a wedding garment. You can't come naked, okay? And there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And that's the sign of a man that loses it. Sorry. He can't do nothing. He can't do anything about it. He should have thought of it before he went there. We have to think about it now, people. All right, let's go back, Judges, and we're going to go back to chapter 7, verse 2. So anyway, the scene is there's a big gathering up near the mountain of Mount Megiddo again. This is actually a pre-runner to Gog and Magog. And verse 2, And the Lord said unto Gideon, The people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midjinites into their hands, unless Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, My own hand have saved me. He doesn't want them thinking they did it themselves. He's going to do it, and he wants them to know he did it. Okay. 3, Now therefore go to proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, Whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. So there's 32,000. 22,000 are fearful, and they are told to go away. We don't need you. We'll do it with the 10. So the 10 were called because they weren't fearful. Now, notice that they weren't fearful. So during the last 7 years, there's going to be a lot of fearful. The apostasy are those that are fearful, lose their faith, fall from their faith, and go with the crowd, the easy road that leads to perdition. Okay? There's many that do that at that time. Of the apostasy, falling away people. So he still has a lot. He still has 10,000. 5, So he brought down the people unto the water, and the Lord said unto Gideon, Everyone that laps of the water with his tongue, as a dog laps, him thou shalt set by himself. Likewise, everyone that bows down upon his knees to drink, Okay, so he wants to separate those that don't bow down, bend down, put their their palms of their hands together, bring it up to their mouth and drink like that. He wants them to be separated from all the others that bow down on their knees, basically on all fours, and then they drink. They bend their mouth into the water and they drink. I mean, I know what they're talking about. I've done both ways in my life, and I never thought about I was being picked if I didn't bow down my knees. 6, and the number of them that lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, were 300 men, but all the rest of the people bowed down upon their knees to drink the water. So, you see the verse? Many are called, but few are chosen. The 300 are the few. The many are those that bowed down. They were called, but they bowed down on their knees. And so anyone, in the tribulation, anybody who bows to the knee of the image of the beast, they're not gonna be chosen for good. And that's all. That's what I wanted to point out here. There's a resemblance. There's another revelation, 7-year end time revelation in this chapter right there. Okay, well, I'll read 7 again. And the Lord said to Gideon, by the 300 men that lapped will I save you, and deliver the Midjinites into thy hand, and let all the other people go, every man to his place. Okay, verse 8. So the people took victuals in their hands and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men, and the host of Midjin was beneath him in the valley. So there's 300, and there's a whole swarm, multitudes that you can't even number. Verse 9, and it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, arise, get thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it unto thy hand. But if thou fear to go down with Phurah thy servant down to the host. 11, and thou shalt hear what they say, and afterwards shalt thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then went he down with Phurah his servant unto the house outside of the armed men that were in the host. And the Midjinites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for a multitude. And their camels were without number as the sand by the sea for a multitude. No, so number one, they're as the sand by the sea for a multitude. They're multitudes. And their camels were without number. And that's significant because Gog has 3 Hebrew letters: a camel, a hook, and a camel. Gamel, Vav, Gamel. Look at, it's talking about camels. So that's another link to this. To this. He's saying this is like a stamp of approval. This is Gog and Magog. Because Gog and Magog are camel, hook, camel, of, camel, hook, camel. And by the way, that's Obama hooked with the land of camels. That's camel, hook, camel, of camel, hook, camel land, United States. Because it would be Obama hooked with United States. That's the prophecy. It's not my prophecy. It's Nathan's prophecy. You don't have to believe it if you don't want to. I do. That's why I'm telling you. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream. Now, so he's listening in on this dream right now. Unto his fellow, and said, behold, I dreamt a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midjin, and came in unto a tent, and smote it, that it fell, and overturned it, that the tent lay along. So that's the dream that he has. And at 14, and his fellow answered and said, This is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, the man of Israel, for into his hand hath God delivered Midjin and all the host. So they know about the God of Israel. They know about the God of Abraham. They are actually descendants of Abraham. They're on the wayside, though. 15, and it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped, and returned into the host of Israel, and said, Arise, for the Lord has delivered you into your hand the host of Midjin. 16, and he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet in every man's hand, with empty pictures and lamps within the picture. And he said unto them, Look upon me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, that it shall be, as I do, so shall ye do. When I blow with the trumpet, and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of all the camp, and say, The sword of Gideon, and say, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. Now the word sword there isn't there, but it's repeated in another verse down here. 19, Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch. This is at nighttime they are. And they had but newly set the watch. And they blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. 20, and the 3 companies blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers and held the lamps in their left hand and the trumpets in their right hands to blow withal. And they cried, The sword of the Lord and the sword of Gideon. 21, and they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled. And the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow. So every man's sword is now against his fellow, his neighbor, his brother. They're on the same side, they're cutting each other with swords. This is exactly how the Gog and Magog war is going to be defeated. Even throughout all the hosts, and the hosts fled to Bethshita in Zeratath, and the border of Abel Meholah unto Tabah. Okay, that's as much as I want to go to that, and you could see that it's a victory, and it's a victory of God, and it's very similar to the victory of Gog and Magog. Now I'd like to go to Zecariah chapter 14. The last couple of chapters, but especially this one, has confusion as to what's going on in the 6th trumpet and what's going on in the 7th trumpet. All right, the 7th trumpet has the millennium. Everybody's at peace. There isn't any, but nobody's dying, nobody's getting hurt, everybody's going to be dwelling safely, peacefully throughout the whole 1,000 years. Not going to be anything, but there's going to be commotion in the Megiddo area, the valley of Megiddo, where there's going to be blood for thousands of furlongs up to the horse's bridle. Sword against sword, and that's going to be where the battle is, and it's going to be not fought by 300 men. It's just going to be fought by the angels of God and the Son of Man that thrusts in his sickle. The Son of Man on the cloud that's coming thrusts in his sickle to gather the grapes and put them in the winepress. That's the winepress, the bowl of Megiddo. Okay, verse 1, Zechariah, Behold, the day of the Lord comes, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. 2, For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken. Now this is where this is the sixth trumpet because the city never gets taken once Jesus comes back, once the seventh trumpet is blown, and we're out of the hardship of the sixth trumpet, which has 1/3 of men being killed in that time. There's 4 major battles. Once for a year, once for a month, once for a day, and once for an hour. And no man knows the day or that hour. And right after that trumpet, right after those battles, whoop! It's time of the seventh trumpet, where there's time no longer. So there's still 280 days to go. Anyway, let's keep going here. So all the nations. There's 70 nations, by the way. I mean, when I say there's 70 nations, I'm agreeing with the Jewish historians that talk about in the time of the Tower of Babel, there were 70 nations, and they all spoke one language, and that language was Hebrew. And there was one more nation added, so it would actually they call it 70 plus 1, and the one language that was left was Hebrew, and of the land of of the Chaldeans. That's why the Chaldeans understood the Bible in the sky, the zodiac, the 12 identities of who the Messiah was going to be. And I gotta say it because I've been doing that. I've been on that topic all my life. But anyway, but there are 70 nations, and all of those nations divided. They had to divide. They couldn't understand one another, so they had to go where they went, wherever they went, and they spoke to their own family, and nobody else understood them except themselves. And that's how the nations grew. The 70 nations grew, which are still here, and God knows who they are. I mean, I don't, but they do think, they do have a educated guess as to where each nation lives. All right. Anyway, okay, so let's read this 2 again. And for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, the houses rifled, the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So half are going to be taken, and half are going to be allowed to stay in Jerusalem. And the houses are going to be rifled. Just I guess that's just the way it says it. And the women ravished. 3. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. Okay, so right there, you see the Lord is here. Okay, he's here now, and he's fighting. He's fighting against the so he's appearing in defense of the people, and the 7th trumpet has blown. The 6th trumpet is over. That's the divide right there. The divide from verse 2 to verse 3 is the divide. Okay? That's when he's here. Verse 4. And you can't deny it. This verse 4. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem, on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof, toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a great, very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north and towards the south. So, big divide of mountain there, right there. A lot going on. And then 5, and ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal. You have 2 goats in Yom Kippur feast. One is got the sins of the people on it, and that's slain, and the other one is set free, dragged into the place of Azal, which means a wilderness type thing. Yea, ye shall flee, as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. Okay, I'm going to skip right here. I'll come back to it because there's a place in Micah that talks about this. I'll come back. Okay, Micah chapter 2, verse 12. And I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Bozrah, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make a great noise by reason of the multitude. Multitude is in italics. They shall make a great news by reason of men. What are we talking about? 13, the breaker is coming up before them. They have broken up. They have passed through the gate. They are gone out by it, and their king shall pass before them, and the Lord on the head of them. All right, so who's the breaker that breaks before them? Who was resurrected first? The breaker, Pharez. And that goes back to Zerah and Pharez, the one who the twins of Judah, born of Tamara. Pharez, the breaker, is the one who breaks out. In other words, Zerah had his hand up. She puts a scarlet thread on him, and Pharez comes out first. Even though Zerah had his hand up, he was ready to come out, and he puts it down. And anyway, the breaker, that's Pharez, that's his name. He comes forth, he comes out, he breaks out first. Who came out? Who was the first to resurrect? Jesus, yes, the Messiah, and he's Pharez, all right? And the other one has the scarlet thread on him. What's the scarlet mean? The blood. They got the blood on us, and we come out. We resurrect with the blood on us. We have the atonement blood on us. And we are called Zerah, which says rises up. Come, my love, arise, and come with me. We resurrect and rise with him. The breaker is come up before them, and they have broken up, and passed through the gate, and gone out by it. And their king shall pass before them, and the Lord on the head of them. So there's the resurrection right there. They have broken up. All of the shaking and everything is going on right now. The shaking. Okay, let's go back to Ezekiel and talk about that shaking again, because we read it, and I didn't even, when I read it, I forgot all about the resurrection that it was actually talking about. Ezekiel 38, verse 19. For in my jealousy, this is God talking, and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. The fire of his wrath, don't forget, this is the time of the vials of wrath, by the way. The millennium is in the times of the vials of wrath. Have I spoken, surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. 20. See that great shaking? That's what I missed. That great shaking is the same tumbling that's going on in Micah, the same breaking forth, the same resurrection, the same thing we're talking about, that Ezekiel is talking about. The bones come together and they live. And if they're living, that means they got to come up out of their graves. There's going to be a shaking. There's graves all around Mount of Olives. That's where most of the graves are in, adjacent to the city are. They're going to get resurrected. The shaking. That's the great shaking. And it's going to sound like it's an earthquake. It's more than an earthquake. It's a resurrection. It's a mighty, mighty, strong resurrection. 20. So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. They're all going to be shaking. His wrath is come. Mountains fall on us. The fish of the sea, how did they get? Because don't you think there's going to be don't you think there's going to be tsunamis with all of this going on? The fish are going to be calm about this? No. So they're going to be affected. They're going to be, when they're in the lakes, they're going to be in the rivers. All the creatures are going to be affected by this great this is going to go throughout the whole globe. No matter where you are, if you're a believer, no matter where you were buried, no matter where your dust lays, you are going to be, you could be in the North Pole. I don't care where you are. The fowls of the heaven, you think all the trees are going to be straightened up straight? They're not. They can't even land. They're going to be, where they're going to land. There's everything. They're not. They're going to be afraid to set foot on the earth right now. Well, everything's going to be broken up. A grave. Where they're going to go? Oh, look at that grave. The beasts of the field, same thing. I mean, they're going to be besides themselves. What's going on? They're not going to know. All creeping things, especially creeping things. Those are the things that live under the earth. They creep and crawl and they live under the earth too. What's going on? Okay, creeping things. All men that are upon the face of the earth. Yeah. They're going to see it and they're going to be afraid. Those that dwell safely are still going to be dwelling safely. They're still going to be dwelling safely. The sixth trumpet is over, and he comes. We have our place. We're set. We're happy. We are under our vine, under our fig tree, and we are at a restful time. We're still going to be working because the true Sabbath is when New Jerusalem comes, and that's when we rest forever with God. But we're going to be 1,000 years having similar to the life that we have now, except it's going to be dwelling safely, pleasantly, with our other half, the Messiah. Shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, the steep places shall fall, every wall shall fall to the ground. Okay, so my house, blank. Oh, the wall of the city, blank. That, but blank. Everything falls. Everything's not rubbish. People are going to be they're not even going to know what's going to happen. But on top of everything that happens, they don't repent. Satan comes out after the 1,000 years. Satan comes out. We still stay where we are, where we're living, for the time of the seventh vial. I think it's the time of the seventh. I think it's the time of the seventh vial when Mystery Woman Babylon is judged, and we are part of that judgment. Know ye not that you shall judge angels? Mystery Woman Babylon is a defiled angel. All right, give her double. She had a lot to do with the death of the prophets and the saints. Every wall shall fall to the ground. Okay, 21, and this is how don't forget, the Battle of Armageddon is still going on, not by and 300 men, but by the angels and the Son of Man, and again, like I said, and this is the 21, copies Judges here, and he says, I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, says the Lord God. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. All right, so that's the same exact way it was described in Judges. 22, and I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his... Now he's pleading against Gog right now. God, this is God pleading against God. And he's going to plead and say, the way Moses pleaded with Pharaoh. He gave Pharaoh pestilences, blood. The river turned to blood. Remember? The pestilence, the plagues, the frogs, the locusts, the boils. Okay, so I already described this. I'm gonna refer you to the 1,000 years according to Ezekiel. Neither jot nor tittle according to Ezekiel. And I also have neither male nor female according to Ezekiel. All of this that I'm talking about in this one, I couldn't fit. And I had, I can't make them more than an hour, too much more than an hour. I can't. People don't watch them. I mean, when I see a big long 2 hour, all right, I don't feel like doing that. I haven't got 2 hours. And that's crazy, but that's kind of like the dividing line. I can't go more than 2 hours. But if there's more than 2 hours, you got to do it in another one. And that's what I'm doing now. Okay, so let me go back one more time to Zechariah, verse 6. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. See, that's the no night there. For the Lord is going to be his. It shall say that. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them towards the former sea, and half of them towards the hinder sea. In summer and winter shall it be. So you got living waters coming from the bottom of the temple area, and some going west, some going east. Okay, the hinder and former sea. The sea that's eastward is the Dead Sea, and living waters are coming. They're going to go into that sea, into the Dead Sea, and it's going to make it a living sea. It's going to change its name from dead to living. You're going to have plenty of fish in that sea. They're going to be 10, and all the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the first gate, unto the corner gate, from the Hananel to the winepress. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. There's more to it. Okay, let's go over to Isaiah chapter 60. And there are some more little details that help enhance a bit more of the picture that we're going to see about the millennium here. Verse 1, arise, shine, for thy light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, verse 2, for behold, darkness shall cover the earth, gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall rise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. 3, and the Gentiles shall come by thy light, and the kings to thy brightness of thy rising. This is giving you a picture of darkness all over everything except Israel, except us. Okay, I'm going to include everybody, not just Israel, because you know the story. That's remember the guy without the garment, without the wedding garment. He was cast out into outer darkness, and there was weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is where he was cast out. He was amongst us. He came to the wedding ceremony. He just didn't have the garment, and he was cast out into the outer darkness. There was weeping and gnashing of teeth. So the whole world is in darkness right now. It doesn't appear that the sun is shining. because the sun is not shining for us. So it's not shining for them. The Lord is our light. The glory of the Lord is our light. And the rest of the world is in darkness. And that may be the reason why the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Okay, they may have seen it from afar. They're tired of the darkness, and they're coming to the land of Israel. And I don't know. It appears that they're going to be welcome. Okay, let's go to I just want to get one little verse in here that's repeated in the New Testament. Isaiah 9, verse 2. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them has the light shined. Okay? So we were walked in the valley of the shadow of death without hope, and we got hope from our Lord who redeemed us. And this is where the light is really, really strong. I mean, it's within us right now. His life is the light of men. His life. I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And that life is the light of men. Okay, so that's all come into play. Let's go back to 60 again, chapter 60, verse 4. Lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far. Thy daughters shall be nursed by thy side. So we're going to have plenty of life with our children and everything like that are already born to us, that have been born in the past, though those that have been resurrected, those children too. Okay? 5, then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. 6, the multitude of camels shall cover thee, the dromedaries of Midjin and Ephah, and from Sheba shall they come, and they shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of the Lord. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered unto thee, the rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto thee. They shall come up with acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. So he is going to glorify the house, which is the temple of his glory. Glory upon glory. Verse 8, who are these that fly as the cloud and as the doves to their windows? So we're going to have the wings of eagles, and we're going to as doves, because we're peaceful now. We're all at peace, and we fly as the cloud flies. Nice. You're in the land of Zebulun, and you want to go see a relative that's in the land of Judah, you just fly as the cloud. You don't have to get any kind of airplane or anything like that anymore. All right? Nice, right? Okay, I'm going to go all the way down to verse 18. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land. Nice. Wasting nor destruction within thy borders. Again, nice. But thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. It's going to be nice. It's going to be joyous, glorious. 19, the sun shall be no more thy light
by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give her light unto thee. But the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy God thy glory. What we know, many prophets and kings have not seen or heard, but it seems like Isaiah saw it, don't it? 20, thy sun, S-U-N, shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself. For the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. The days of thy mourning shall be ended. The days of the mourning shall be ended. Nice, right? 21, thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. 22, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time. Okay, I'm going to go over to Zechariah and try to clarify something that is a little more puzzling. I'll start with Zechariah 13, verse 7, which was quoted in the New Testament when Jesus was crucified. Okay? 7, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn mine hand upon the little ones. So God will now help shepherd the little ones, that have been scattered. And they smited the shepherd. They crucified Jesus, and his sheep scattered. That's what happened. So that was when he was crucified. Now we're gonna verse 8. The next verse is gonna be 2,000 years later, because it says, "And it shall come to pass." So it came to pass 2,000 years later in the millennium time. I'm seeing this as the millennium time, close to the millennium time, actually. Oh, let's look at it. That in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Okay, now, what I think is happening here is that the 8th verse has 2 trumpets within it. It has the 6th trumpet, where 1/3 dies. Okay? And then the 7th trumpet rings, and then now you have the time when Jesus is here, and this is the time he divides the sheep from the goats. So he will divide. He has 2/3 of it. I'm going to say the 2/3 of Israel right now, okay? The way I see it. The 2/3 are his people, Israel. 1/3 already died, so 2/3 are left. One of the 2/3 are going to die. He's going to separate the sheep from the goats. The way Nathan put it, he's going to smell us. He's going to hug us, come close, smell us, and he's going to know who's fearful and who's righteous and who is not. Who he's going to, this is again, many are called, but few are chosen. All right? This is part of that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking. and I'm sharing my thoughts. So, anyway, the way Nathan described it is that some were not allowed into the city, and some were. Dividing the sheep from the goats, those that stayed outside the city, according to this verse here, they die. A third is left. And 9 talks about the third. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is refined, and they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. So you see here, we're going to have, this is a rapid, in other words, we had to go through the Great Tribulation to get all of this refining part, and the sanctuary was cleansed by the time of the seventh trumpet. Okay, but these guys here, he already returned, and they didn't believe in him. But I believe that he will make that judgment of the sheep and the goats, and then he's going to allow those that one third that is left. The first thing that they got to do is bow before the pole, lift up the Son of Man upon the pole, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness. So those that were looked upon the pole and upon the brazen serpent, their snake bites were no longer fatal. Then they lived. All right, so that's what I think is. That's, in other words, this is a quick one day, because it's a nation shall be born in one day. It's a quick one day, and all of this silver refined, gold and silver going through the fire and everything, their faith happens almost without time, but it all happens. Oh, don't forget, we're in the time we're in the millennium time, when time is stretched out. And there's going to be the judging of the 12 tribes of Israel. And the 12 apostles are going to be the ones judging them. That's that one. And now I want to end with another, what I think is another reflection to the millennium time, is in Isaiah 9, verse 4. Thou hast broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midjin. So there are men multiplied around them now, and again, I just went through how the day of Midjin and Gidjon, that time was a shadow of the war of Gog and Magog. Okay, so that's where we're looking at. And verse 5 says, "For every battle of the warrior is confused noise, garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." So remember, he brings fire upon them. Okay, 6. Now this is where I want to praise our Lord, and I want to end it here. So I just want to end it in a nice note. "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." How is he called the Everlasting Father? Didn't he say, "If you had known me, you had known the Father"? Isn't he in the image of his Father? He's the Son? And we are in their image. Okay? And the government is going to be on his shoulders. No more wicked beast. There's no more wicked false prophet. There's no more evil commands that we got to do. All the testing is gone. He's the government in the millennium. He's the glory of everything. He's the light of the world. It's his light. It's not the sun's light. It's a warm light, and cool, a loving light. It's soothing. It's peaceful. He is called the Prince of Peace. And he's called, before that he was called Wonderful. He was, when he came, he was full of wonders. Even now he's full of wonders. He just resurrected us. What a wonder that one is. And his wonders will probably never cease. We'll always be in awe of his majesty. Their majesty, the Father too, and the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, the Comforter that has been with us all these days when we're in this world. And then he's gonna, what do you think? He's not gonna come visit us? He's gonna live with us too. Okay, so he's the wonderful, full of wonders. He's the counselor. Okay, you got a problem? Don't you go to him? And doesn't he give you wisdom in the inner parts about the problem? That's what he does. He's a counselor. He's the best counselor that ever lived. He's the mighty God. He's God Almighty. What power doesn't he have? What power is greater than him? There isn't. Satan has a lot of power, but it's not greater than him. Everlasting Father, I said that. The Prince of Peace, I said that. 7, and of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. No end. You had peace? Yeah. I said, yeah, I asked you that. You asked me that yesterday. I'm still at peace. The next day, are you at peace? I'm still at peace. You asked me that 2 days, both days. Forever. It doesn't stop being peaceful. Have a peaceful mind, without worries, without concerns, without problems, without fret, without nightmares, without heartache. Those are all gone. Those are in this world, not that world. Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment, with justice, from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of the host, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Hosts is all the angels and the mightiness of might that of his messengers all around him that obey. These are the clean angels. These are the ones that obey the Father. They're not the ones that listen to the anti-angels that fell, Satan. The 1/3 of them that came and followed him, which is what we wrestle against all the time these days, and they're going to be gone. In this world, then they're not here anymore. Eventually, they're not there anymore. They all get thrown into the lake of fire. And it's the zeal of the Lord. In other words, he's adamant about making it happen. All right? God loves you people. I know he does, because he tells me he does. All right. Bye.